Old school.
Tiddlywinks, you can play with anything.
Anyway, on that note, hello and welcome to podcast number 36. Hello, a croeso I podcast Tri My name is Gareth Evans. This is Mr. Henry. I'm biking now to Cooper in honour of your.
It sounds like a musical number. Like, I am a biker now too.
I mean, feel free to crack into song at any point during the during the podcast.
You're the guitar player, so you can do that.
That means you can sing.
I didn't say that.
Well,
so what are we talking about?
This is a gaming podcast, and we're going to talk about games today. And usually, no controversy. Well, actually, we're talking about for us. It's exam Battlefront 2. There is controversy there, but we're talking about games that we played ourselves. We're actually talking about our own experiences this week, and a bit of a change in the podcast. I hope you enjoy it. Notice there's a lot of new commenters over the last couple of weeks or so. A lot of people picking up our videos from somewhere, so welcome along if you are a new subscriber, new watcher to the channel, and also welcome to all you others, all you old school pretty good gamers too. Welcome one and all. So
what are we talking about then?
First up,
what's on the docket?
The Switcher. I mean, one of the most exciting propositions of the year was to play The Witcher on the Switch, right? Surely.
Yeah. One of the biggest, most successful games in recent memory, coming to the tiny little platform that is the Switch.
Yeah, and that in itself is some sort of technological achievement, that's for sure. It's not getting to the man to the moon, but it's still quite up there. So it arrived on Tuesday, and I bought it for the third time. And for those of you who didn't watch Wednesday's video, where we were gushing over CD Projekt Red, why we like them and that, just head over and watch the video. I talked a little bit more about my experience with The Witcher and that, but just as a snapshot of how the game performs, it's pretty impressive. To say it simply, it runs really well, although the graphics are pretty poor for modern standards, right? For modern standards, and that is like a big context to approach it with, because if graphics are a huge part of the enjoyment of a game for you, you're not gonna really. If you're a bit of a snob when it comes to graphics, you're not really gonna get the most out of this. But I've been playing games since back in the 80s, man. 8-bit gaming, you know what I mean? It's
the bar was set low.
Not about graphics for me, obviously.
Yeah.
No. So I'm able to appreciate it for the gameplay, aside from any, how ropey it looks. Let's be honest. But it is run on a mobile device, and that's what you've got to remember, right? It's for a mobile device, and to achieve that, and to have a game as large and as accomplished as The Witcher in that form factor is that achievement, right?
Yeah, it's a compromise that you'll have to make if you want to play it. Like if you care more about graphical fidelity, you'll play it on the highest end hardware you can possibly get, like a really good PC with all the best tech. But if you want to play it portable, you're going to have to sacrifice that.
Yeah.
But you'll still have a good experience if you can get over the graphical barrier. Because if it plays well, right? If it plays as well as it does on...
It does play well.
Normal hardware.
It plays relatively well. It's 30 frames a second, and it dips somewhat sometimes. I've played exclusively in handheld mode. You definitely should not buy this to play in docked mode. There are better big screen experiences to be had. And that's what a lot of the impressions and tech breakdown. I watched the Digital Foundry tech breakdown of it. That's what they said too. It's in its element in your hand, and that is absolutely true. And it's running at 720p, but because it's such a small screen, it's like a 5-6 inch screen or something. It doesn't really matter so much. The pixel count doesn't really matter because it's a small screen, right? You really shouldn't be playing this for how it looks. You're playing it because it's convenient, right? You play it because you're able to dip in and out of it in between, like your chores at home, for example. I'm cooking at home. I've got like the pan on the stove, and I'm playing The Witcher. I'm boiling the kettle. I'm serving the kids tea, and I'm slaying some ghouls and stuff.
I pretty much never turn my Switch off. I just put it on standby mode, and then I'll pick it back up. So, let's play the Switch. Turn it on. Unlock it, apparently I'm in the middle of a battle on Blasphemous and my game time is up to 90 hours, even though I haven't actually played it for 90 hours. It's just been on. I haven't
played it at all. I'm sure that's what a lot of people do who do reviews for games on Steam. It's like 1 million hours played. Like, you
just left it on in the background.
Yeah, that's it. So, all that said, you've got to realise that the Witcher Switch is not for the people who want graphics. It's that simple, right?
Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah. I mean, it's because it's the form factor. It's because it's convenient. It's because it's on the Switch. And I said for a long while that the Switch needs some decent RPGs. I love RPGs, and it's my best gameplay experience. I played Skyrim again on the Switch, and I really enjoyed that again because of its form factor, because of its convenience. And I think now that The Witcher might be the best game on the Switch right now. And to think that what you get a value for money as well. I bought the box copy, right, 45 quid from Game. Apparently it was a mistake. It was supposed to be 52, but they had the stickers on 45, so they had to honour that, right? But you get an extra like box in it, so it's a box within a box. But in the big box, you've got like you've got a map, you've got stickers, you've got a welcome, a thank you note, and you've also got this little glossary thing with information and stuff. It's such a nice little package
for just the basic edition. That's just every edition has that.
Yeah, and it's the equivalent of what other people would have for the
collector's one for like 70 quid or something. Yeah,
it's a nice little touch, and it's great value for money. You get the 16 DLC as well as the Blood and Wine, and what was the other expansion?
Hearts and Stone, or Hearts of Stone. I can't remember.
You get everything, and it's right. It's a 32 gig card. Most of the data's on there. You just need like a 2 gig install or something after you get it. So they've not pulled any punches with this. It's an awesome package, and for what I've played of it, of maybe 3 hours so far, I'm happy to report that I am keen to continue, because like I said in the previous video, that I haven't connected with it in the past, and it's maybe because I've been playing it for the wrong reasons, I've realised now. So I'm keen to carry on playing now, unlike previously where it just felt like I was just playing it because I needed to play it because everyone says it was so good. I needed to play, and I was expecting it to impress me, and that's never the right mindset to approach anything. But this time I'm taking my time to explore the early part of the map, the side missions, meet with characters, and
you can sink so much time just into what's it called? Is it White Orchard, the first region, without doing any proper story stuff?
Yeah.
Go help the old lady find her frying pan.
Right.
Have you done that?
No,
that's the extent of the mission.
Yeah. There's the dwarf whose house got set on fire.
The blacksmith,
blacksmith. I have to solve
because if you do that quest, you then get him as the blacksmith, so it's in your interest to do
that's it. And there's various others. But this time, I'm taking time to explore side missions, characters, as well as the crafting level and alchemy systems and everything else, right? The RPG mechanics, essentially. Reading the bestiary and learning about the...
It's one of my favourite things about The Witcher.
I mean, I didn't do that last time. I was like, right, get me to the good bit. Get me to the good bit. Get me to the good bit. That's the way I was playing it last time. It's like, this isn't how you play the game. I realise now that's not how you should play the game. So there's this one mission, and this is what is particularly motivating for me, right? Is this one mission where you have to make a potion to help a dying child because she was attacked by the griffin or something, right? Yeah. And it's like it's a throwaway side. Oh, you can help if you want, and you're like, well, if I help her and she goes crazy, everyone will blame me or whatever.
It's designed to introduce you to the moral questions of the game,
which is excellent, right? One of the ingredients for the potion is a drowner's brain. Yeah. It doesn't tell you where to get it from. So if I eventually came across some drowners and they're by the water, so I read the best shit, right? So I've got to kill enough of these now for it to drop a brain, right? And that's the part of the, I've got to go looking for that that's the part of the adventure side of it that's motivating me, forcing me to explore and use my wits, right? That's part of the charm of it.
In the early game, you can get easily messed up by a couple level 5 drowners if you're just a level 1. It's like, level 5, I'll have no trouble. But they can get up on you because they'll do a lot more damage than you're expecting. But then when you come back later, it's just a walk in the park. Yeah,
that's true. So the long and short of it is, I'm actually playing it for the right reasons now, I think. And I think that I missed that in the first couple of times because it's more a relaxed experience on the Switch. You know what I mean? I can play in between doing chores or whatever. So I can focus on the RPG elements of it. The learning about the lore, about the
pick it up, have a little adventure for an hour, set it down, and pick back up right where you left off the next day.
Because the first couple of times I played it, I was like, right, Yennefer, Got to find this girl, Yennefer. She's got black hair. Anyone seen Yennefer? No. Right, let's go to these. Let's go to here. Let's go find Yennefer. Where's Yennefer, everybody? No. And that was my main thrust, right? And I was missing all the best parts of it. So, and
it is funny, like when they're saying, "Oh, we spotted her here. She's a day ahead of us." Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to spend 4 weeks doing side missions and not go and find her. But no time has passed.
She's a day right away. Let's just do 5 side missions.
Yes.
I'm trying not to dwell on the combat's repetitive kind of dodge attack kind of thing right now, because I know I can learn a lot about the potions, and there's more to combat than just swinging your sword, essentially. Right?
When you're fighting harder stuff, it will get down to, okay, you need to be using the right potions to give you debuffs for what they use, and then buffs for what you use, putting oils on, then managing your toxicity, which I think we all need to do on the internet. Come to think of it.
Managing this toxicity. Geralt was the OG internet user. So, yeah, I think having the patience to appreciate it for what it is what I was lacking the first time. I think I've realised that now.
It does have a really slow start.
Yeah.
But once you get to White Orchard and you're like, okay, I can figure stuff out, then you get onto the next area, it's like, okay, here's the game proper.
Yeah.
That's when it gets good.
I get it. So, who knows? I might just end up in one of my top games ever. Who knows? I might just ditch it in a couple of weeks or next week when The Outer Worlds comes out, because that's out next week, right? True. Another sprawling, kind of half sprawling RPG game. But who knows? But I think the beauty of being able to play it on Switch is that I don't feel like I'm sacrificing playtime on my PC or PlayStation 4, and I can just pick that up, and it doesn't overlap, right? So if I've got a session, I can sit down and play for an hour or two on the PC, and if I've got 20 minutes in between, go and get the kids for school or from school or whatever, I can just play. It just feels like I don't have to sacrifice anything else to play it, which is another great point for me.
Is The Outer Worlds coming to Switch? I think it is, actually.
Eventually.
Yeah.
Not next week.
Yeah. I thought that was the case. So that might be another one where get a proper high-end version, and then further down the line get the portable version.
Yeah, I think so. If it's anything like New Vegas, because it's Obsidian, obviously it's the same developers. If it's anything like New Vegas, I probably will get it on both, just to support them more than anything, and be able to have the flexibility to play on Switch as well. So those are my first early impressions of the Switch. It runs great so long as you're doing it in handheld mode and you're playing it for the right reasons. And I'm actually starting to enjoy the game, and I want to. I'm thinking about it now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sitting, not playing it, thinking about it. That's always
a good sign. If you're eager to get back to it, well, then you'll just have to eventually pick a side and choose your real woman, whether or not it's going to be Triss or Yen.
No spoilers. I haven't even fucking played through it yet.
Nah, man. That's the important question. Triss or Yen. Forget about the moral stuff.
Blonde or brunette?
Redhead or
red. Red.
Raven. The Raven hair.
Raven.
That's what they. Nothing to. And just like Ciri, she doesn't have white hair. She has ashen hair because everything is magical and mystical. Anyway, The Witcher. It's really good. So while you've been playing The Witcher on the Switch, I've gone back and purchased for £15 second hand, so I didn't have to give them any money, Star Wars Battlefront 2.
So EA didn't see a sense of your purchase.
They did not.
That's the best. That's what you have to do, right?
Yeah. I floated.
Justifies it.
Yeah. I floated this idea in last week's podcast, and then that weekend I was like, you know what? I've got nothing going on at the moment, and it's 15 quid. And I don't plan to spend like a million hours on it. I just want a good Star Warsy experience now that they've added a bunch of stuff. Let's see what the crack is. And I'm on this kick of reappraising old controversial stuff.
It's worth it these days, especially in games, the age of games as a service. A game that's a couple of years old that has been updated for so long. I mean, I'll talk about it myself in my Fallout 76 segment in just a bit. It's worth going back to see what they've done with it, especially if you're buying a second-hand, a physical version, which you can then resell at the same price, and you've literally paid nothing. You've seen, you can buy it 15, sell it 15.
Exactly. So in case you aren't aware, which I'm sure you are, but we'll go for a quick background on what the game is. So Star Wars Battlefront 2, released in 2017. It's obviously a Star Wars based game. It's shooter, and it can be first and can be third. It's up to you. Mainly multiplayer, but this one does have a campaign, which I'll get onto because it's mixed. So it's developed by DICE, who do Battlefield, and it's published by EA, who do cancerous monetization. The game launched with a horrendous loot box system and kind of quickly became the poster child for bad monetization and was infamous for that. And that is the linchpin of that whole conversation. Was the boiling point was Star Wars Battlefront 2, partly because it's Star Wars. It's one of the most beloved brands ever,
biggest IPs in entertainment. And it's criticised for all the usual stuff, but just to a worse extent. Like, it's got all the games as a service bollocks, all the usual multiplayer monetization bollocks, but it's even worse than everyone else is doing. A lack of content, a lack of depth. But I got it for 15 quid. Now it's had all its extra content added, so I've got a significantly better product for a significantly reduced price. Yeah, which is the way to do it. I believe so.
Yeah. So in regards to campaign, there is one, which is good news, but it's okay. It's okay. It's fine. It's mechanically pretty bare bones, and it's very predictable. It's like walk into a room, kill the baddies, go to the next place, kill them, kind of rinse, repeat. Yeah. There's not anything particularly motivating going on.
What gameplay mechanics are we talking? Just shooting, no Jedi force powers or anything like that?
In a handful of missions, you will take over as one of the classic heroes like Luke, Han, Leia, and Lando. But that's like one mission. And people like Leia, Han, and Lando, they play pretty much the same as anyone else anyway, because they still use blasters. They're just a bit stronger and have better moves. Story-wise, you play as a special forces agent in the Empire. So you're one of the baddies, and all the marketing was like, you're going to be on the bad side this time, and you're going to do some bad stuff. But you're not. You give up, spoiler alert, for a 2-year-old game. You change sides. Yeah. Which was massively predictable. And I think that, when it came out, everyone was in the reviews like, of
course.
You
can't let you be a baddie.
It's Disney, after all. They own the brand now. Which is really frustrating because there's such interesting things you can do with being the Empire, because the girl you play as, Commander Iden Versio, she's ultra loyal to the Empire. She fully believes in everything they do, but they've also been brainwashed a bit, because one of the other guys, on a mission where you play as Luke, he lands on this planet, you're looking for something. Luke lands on the planet, he's also looking for something. He gets stuck in some goo, like a cocoon. So Luke, you're playing as Luke, you come along and save him, and he's like, well, why did you help me? He's like, well, because you asked. And he's like, oh, but I thought all you Jedi were barbaric savages who killed everyone. He's like, no, we're the Jedi.
We're actually the good guys.
Yeah, we're great. So they're kind of brainwashed, and there's some interesting ideas in that, but it's like the writing doesn't have the confidence to really go for it. Yeah. Which is a shame, because there is a lot of potential there.
Yeah, you feel like a game like this, which is going to try and appeal to the masses, doesn't want to go too deep. It just wants to scratch the surface with the themes rather than...
Which is exactly
2 legs.
What this is. And to be fair, it is Star Wars. It is, as you say, appealing to the masses, and they kind of want to encourage that. But we're in the age where games, in terms of storytelling and writing quality, is getting better and better and better, and to be considered alongside,
some of the best.
Yeah, like novels and film, being award worthy and all that.
Yeah, the bar is so high these days, with so many games have done it the best. Yeah, that to not even attempt is a bit thin, right? It's a bit weak.
Yeah, and it almost feels like the heroes you play as feel like a crutch. Like when you do play as Luke, it's like, just in case you're not into these new characters we're telling the story with, here's Leia. Yeah. Now you can do a bunch of stuff with her. And I'm like, she's cool. I love Princess Leia, one of the most badass sci-fi characters ever. But I'll give these people their own space to,
it's like
tell their story.
Watered it down with things that'll appease the masses, right?
Yeah. But that being said, as soon as I got to be Luke, I was like, okay. Luke. It's Luke. It's peak Luke, because it's post Return of the Jedi. So he's like Jedi Master. He's starting to kind of bring a form of the Jedi Order back together. He's at his most powerful, and he's pure Luke, which was nice to see, especially after something like The Last Jedi completely did things with his character that I won't say are bad, but I think it was certainly the wrong move and inconsistent with anything.
We all know.
But in terms of actual gameplay, the shooting is fine. It's fine. You pull a trigger, lasers fly out. There's a few different guns. That's cool. But what makes it compelling is it really does capture what Star Wars feels and sounds and looks like.
Aesthetics.
Yeah.
Right?
So in terms of the atmosphere, everything, like, this is particularly prevalent in the multiplayer, which I'll get onto in a sec. But it all... like when you fire a certain gun, it will make the right noise, and if you've been watching it for years and have that nostalgia kind of ticking in your brain, you'll recognize what weapon that is. And like when you hit a wall, there'll be sparks coming out and then a little bit of smoke, and little details like that are amazing and totally don't go amiss, especially like if you're walking down a corridor and there's a bunch of goons on, let's say, a Star Destroyer or like a Rebel cruiser. You've infiltrated it because that's one of the first missions. They're all trying to kill you and you're blasting them down the corridor. It looks exactly like it does in the opening of A New Hope when the rebels are holding off against the Empire as Vader walks in. That's completely spot on.
Yeah.
And without that, it would be terrible because it's so basic.
I think that's the beauty of the Frostbite engine. Now, before you lynch me for saying that, obviously the Frostbite engine has been known to cause an unreal amount of problems for developers, especially RPG developers, let's say. On Anthem and whatever, it's caused a lot of problems. But the reason why they push it so hard is because it looks great and sounds great and it runs great for what for a first-person shooter. Essentially,
yeah, exactly.
Right?
And it definitely plays more naturally in first-person mode. I always prefer third-person shooters, so generally I play in third. But you can switch quite easily. I think you hold down. I think it's down on the D-pad. And you'll switch, and it's seamless, pretty effortless. But first person feels a bit more natural. The story altogether, it's kind of weak because it doesn't take any risks or really push anything. And in some ways, you can say it doesn't really need to. It's Star Wars. It is meant to be quite friendly, but they have such potential to do more.
Of course. Yeah.
And the ending's really weak. Like, it kind of just ends at one point, and then there's a flash forward to like 60 years in the future. I can't remember however long, but it's. So the Empire falls, you join the rebellion, and then it jumps in time, and the First Order from the new trilogy, they're kind of bubbling up and about to do their big play. Yeah. And then it ends. Yeah. It's like this fake cliffhanger where it's like, oh, here's what we're doing next, but no one really cared, so you've given us this thread which we didn't ask for. But then they carried that on with free DLC. Free DLC is always nice, but it feels like it was tacked on and they didn't need to do that or didn't know what they were doing. But it's more content and it was fine. Like, I didn't hate it, but I was like, it's Star Wars. That's basically what's got me through everything. Is this feels like Star Wars. This is nice. But it's mainly a multiplayer game, as most EA titles usually are. And I think this is kind of done. It's a good example of games as a service done well, and I think this is because of the controversy. If they had a good launch, it wouldn't be the case now. So they've filled it with loads of free content, including like new planets, new game modes, new characters, new skins, and new challenges, all from different Star Wars time periods. And they're currently in a big push for new content based on the prequels. And in their marketing, they're really leaning into the meme-ness of the prequels at the moment, like Obi-Wan Kenobi saying hello there all the time, and like any quotes from the movies, they'll put that as the branding. So like when they added droidicars in for the Separatists, the rolling ones who turn into a wheel out big shields, the title of the trailer was "Where are those droidicars?" Like the I can't remember what they're called, the weird semi-racist looking fish people, head of the Trade Federation, Newt Gunray and his mate. You might not remember. I do.
Straight over my head. I'm not a nerd.
But yeah, all right, Star Trek, stay over there. So yeah, they've added loads of good stuff, which is great because it was so bare bones to begin with. But they've got it to a point where there is a decent amount of content. And if you're one for skins, it's got a reasonable selection, which you can unlock through just playing. Because there's two currencies. There's your premium one. Obviously, it's an EA game. Don't get this wrong. And then there's credits, which you earn just by playing regular matches. You can keep playing and then you get that at the end. It's not a lot, but you get some, and then you get a bit more from doing challenges, and it's not as grindy as other things. It could certainly be a lot worse. Like I earned like 10,000 just playing yesterday from playing a handful of matches somehow. Because I think you from half the time when I'm not trying to do a challenge, it will just come up like, oh, get this many kills with this character class. And that quite nicely brings me on to next point. The multiplayer is based in classes. Mm-hmm. So you get Assault, who's like your well-rounded one, uses assault rifles, kind of like a mid-range, average damage guy. You get Heavy, who's pretty much what it sounds like. And that one, you get personal shields and like a big a Gatling gun thing, which kind of locks you down. You move really slow, but it does loads of damage. You get Officers, who can boost everyone's stats, but their primary weapon is just a sidearm, so it's a bit crap. But they can drop a sentry turret, which is super useful if you're trying to like do an objective. Yep. And you get Specialists, who are snipers or scouts. So they've got rifles and like thermal goggles and shit. And that's the classes are the same across the different factions. So whether you're the Republic as clone troopers, or the Separatists as droids, or the Empire, or the Rebellion, or whatever, they're all the same. They all look kind of slightly different. But with regards to skins, the clones have the most because of the Clone Wars TV show, which by all accounts is really good. But because it's not on a Netflix or anything, and I would have watched it illegally years ago, but I'm kind of trying to move away from that. As I've grown older, and the quality was horrendous on them, so I just didn't do it. But yeah, the Clone Wars, there's loads of different clone like battalions, and they've all got different coloured armour, so you can signify who's who. Mm-hmm. Like the group who hang out with Obi-Wan are one battalion. I think they're the 212th or something. Then there's another one who hang out with Anakin, which is cool. And Obi-Wan and Anakin are now in the game as well, which is great. Added in as more prequel launch content, and they've got new skins from the movies or from the Clone Wars show, so they've done a good job of doing that, and that's pretty much the same with everyone. Most people have an additional skin, and if they don't, they probably will before long. But I really like that it's class-based, because I think it means you can play a bit more tactically. I generally prefer class-based stuff, or having a really good ability to make a build in other games, but class, I think, is an easy way to do it. But the problem I have with the multiplayer is that it's card system, and card systems are pretty much always shit because they feel like crap, and they're really unaccommodating to new people, because that's the progression system, and it's you level up your class, and then you unlock a new card which will be like, oh, you've got increased health, or you can replace this grenade with this grenade which will do more damage. So if you've been playing since launch, you've got amazing stuff, and you've got a massive advantage, which means it's really there's a huge barrier for entry for new players like me coming in. I think there's like a double XP thing going on at the moment anyway, which has helped. But if I'm there, I'm like, why am I dead? I've been shot from nowhere. Oh, it's a guy over there with the Specialist sniper class, and he's got cards specifically for being a sniper, so he's built his Specialist even more like that. So I'm just getting
and it's harder to catch up, because when those players were at your level, they were versus people of the same level as them. There weren't so many higher class players, but now there's so many higher class players now. It's hard. It's slower for you to catch up. It's a lot harder for you to catch up because you're up against so many better opponents. Exactly.
But one thing I really like is that they've got decent PvE modes in there now as well. Mm-hmm. So the big one in the original Battlefront and Battlefront 2 on the PS2 era was instant action, and they have finally added that in. It's not the most complex mode, it's just a PvE thing. It's like 40 on 40 or something, or no, it's not, I'm lying, I can't remember how many it's against, but you go through a map and you capture control points, and once whoever's got them all and has the most points by the end, you basically win. But it's PvE, so you don't have to worry about idiots with guns that you could never get because they're so overpowered. You can just play it your way and have a great time. The biggest problem with that at the moment is that it's got limited maps that it's compatible with, but I feel like that's the kind of thing that they're going to update over time, because I don't see why you couldn't just play it on any map, because all you've got to do is put in these little control points and just copy the systems over. It doesn't sound like that much of an issue to me. But another one they've added very recently, which I'm a big fan of, is just called, I think it's just called Co-op, and it's 4-player plus a selection of AI versus AI, PvE again. and you just can't move through control points, and it's got almost a narrative to it. So it's like you're here to take this planet for the Republic or whatever. Okay, we're going to go grab that control point, which is this thing in lore or whatever. But the best one for being semi-narrative driven is called Capital Supremacy, which I am a massive fan of, and I've been wanting multiplayer modes to do this sort of thing for ages. And it starts as like a ground battle, and this is 40v40 PvP, so against real people. And you've got to, again, capture some control points or blow up a tank or something like that. There's an objective to do beyond just killing everyone. But then after that, you will fly up into space and do a battle on a ship up there, because let's say the droids are trying to blow up your spaceship's internal systems and whatnot. So you need to stop them. And then if the clones win, you'll go back down and fight them again. But then if the droids win, they win. So it's you're kind of holding them back the whole way until you can gain the upper hand, which I think is a really great way to do it, because you get a little semi-cutscene thing when you get to the end. It's like, oh, the droid ships have come down to pick them up, to take them to the ship, blow it up. If you do, sorted. If not, okay, the droids have gone up. Now we're going up. Hold them there. Okay, no, they've blown up the ship. They win. Here's them like arresting all of us and taking us prisoner, which I really like. I've been wanting multiplayer maps to be done like that for ages.
It gives you like a greater feeling that, you know, it's not just a single map thing. It is like a story, you know, entwined in it, and it can progress beyond the place that you are now to. And
it feels more than just you're in a map shooting people like a video game. Like I want it's context more than perhaps narrative. Like the context of this battle, and the battles are really good at feeling like actual battles with lots going on. And I'm hesitant to call them grounded, because it's Star Wars and there's lasers everywhere, and there's Jedi jumping out of nowhere. But the sense of scale they have, because the maps are pretty big. So they've got like open areas, then closed areas. Like my favorite map at the moment is Theed, which is on Naboo, and it's basically a huge I don't know what you call it, but like a street, and then lots of little buildings on the side, so you can go round, and you're kind of progressing through that as a tank comes down and whatnot. And it feels like, oh, there's a reason we're doing this fight beyond, oh, just team deathmatch, whichever team wins, which is great. Although, speaking of Jedi just there, anyone with a lightsaber, you can kind of hear them coming. You can hear the buzz. And somehow DICE have managed to make that really fucking scary. Yeah. So I'm walking along and you hear just I'm like, oh God, please be on my team. Please be like a Luke Skywalker or an Obi-Wan. Nope, there's Darth Maul. You're fucked. Yeah. Because you can kill him, but it's really difficult. And that's kind of a balancing issue I think they need to solve as well.
Isn't that the point, though? Isn't that the point? Yeah. Like that reaction that you have needs to be how you react, right?
Yeah.
So, and for that to happen, they have to be OP.
Yeah, they are really OP, but the problem is that with these high-level people, as soon as they get to unlock a hero, so as you're playing, you unlock like points, and then you can spend them on being like upgrading to a different type of person, so, different type of class. So it's like, oh, okay, we can now go as a jet trooper with a jetpack, and you get slightly different weapons, or you can be a Wookiee with a really powerful bowcaster cannon thing. Or eventually you can get to be a Jedi, or you can get a ship or something, but eventually you can get to be a Jedi. But the problem is, once the really good people who are more experienced and have better stats and cards and whatnot, as soon as they get to be a Darth Vader, they're that for the whole game. And if you ever get close to getting the right amount of points to be able to play as one, everyone else on the team has already picked all of them. Right. So Vader's taken, the Emperor's taken, Darth Maul's taken, Boba Fett's taken. They're all taken. And then you're like, right, well, I've got about 8,000 points because I've just had a really good run of like 20-odd kills. But I can't spend them on anyone because these guys are so OP and they're not dying. So I think there's a bit of a balancing issue there. Right. But again, they are supposed to be really powerful. And if they're not, it doesn't feel like a reward or like anything you've earned. Mm-hmm. Space battles are really cool just because the controls feel really good. They fly similar to Everspace in that you're controlling them with your right stick, and then your thrust and speed and whatnot is on your left. My problem with it is that the lobbies are really small. No one's playing them, so it takes a little bit longer to get into a game. And I want more modes within that, because normally it's, all right, fly around, kill everything, and then blow up a few bits on this ship. But they don't feel as well done as like the Capital Supremacy mode or Galactic Assault, which is like blow up the AT-AT before it gets to our base type thing. So if they had more objective-driven modes in the Starfighter mode, that'd make me happy. But on that general note, what I would want from it in the future, because it is doing games as a service quite well already, it just needs more everything. If they can keep doing what they're doing, just keep adding more stuff. Make every map available for instant action. They would never do this, but make every mode available offline to be able to play PvE, especially if you can do it split screen. Yeah. Because it's Star Wars. Everyone loves Star Wars. And if you don't, you've got a problem.
Well,
Star Wars isn't that good anymore, but Star Wars is amazing.
Well, they've got an upcoming TV show, The Mandalorian, right?
The Mandalorian.
Well, it's funny I say it wrong because I only just find out it was happening today.
It looks amazing.
I saw the trailer for the first time today. It's like a month old. I'm like, how did I miss this?
Yeah, it's like a Western Star Wars. Yeah, it's going to be great.
Yeah, I missed it. Bill Burr's in it.
Yeah, which is really weird.
Which is awesome.
He's on the record of saying like, I don't get Star Wars, but I'm in it now.
Yeah.
Which is, I like that. I like that they've got non-fans because it gives a unique perspective. Yeah, if they add, they've got Rise of Skywalker coming up at the end of the year, so they'll put in a bunch of content for that. Movie might be good.
Yeah.
I don't have the highest confidence in it given The Last Jedi.
Well, there's so much. Apparently, they're exploring new worlds and new races and everything in this TV show, right?
Yeah.
So
that's the most excited Star Wars related thing.
I'm excited for this. I don't really like the modern movies that much. I'll be honest. I love the old ones, but the modern ones, it's like just another action movie, right?
Oh,
especially the most recent one. Oh my god. Anyway,
the original trilogy is where it's at. The prequels are shit. They are shit.
Yeah. Well,
but there's a lot to enjoy.
Oh, I mean, yeah. My feelings are a little bit more nuanced than that. Yeah, it's bad, but it's good for certain.
Yeah,
whatever. But the Mandalorian. Apparently, it's the TV show they spent most per episode on this TV show than any other TV show. So it surpasses Game of Thrones for the most amount of money spent per episode, which is pretty damn exciting, right? It's like it is this new age of TV shows, like and unlike films, they get dated very quickly. TV shows get picked up and rewatched, and if they do like numerous seasons with numerous different things, the prospect for the future of the Star Wars franchise is looking a lot better than it was when I watched the last film. That's for fucking sure.
Yeah, the Mandalorian looks amazing. They're meant to be doing the Obi-Wan one next year, which we've been clamoring for years, and is a complete no-brainer. Even if the Rise of Skywalker is crap, I hope the Mandalorian it could be crap as well.
It could be. It looks pretty good though.
Yeah, I have more confidence in it. It's got a great team behind it. Jon Favreau's writing it or something. Taika Waititi's doing one of them. Mm-hmm. Pedro Pascal is playing the Mandalorian, who is Oberyn Martell, the best Game of Thrones character who didn't have enough time to shine. Someone else is it. Well, one of the guys from Predator's in it. I can't remember his name. Anyway, here to talk about Battlefront.
Yeah.
If they put him in
Star Wars, isn't it?
I'll be happy.
Feel free to geek out, dude. This is
Star Wars is my life. I fall off every now and then because I'm like, Last Jedi was shit. But on the Last Jedi topic, I dislike the fact that I dislike it more than I dislike it. If that makes sense. It's like I love Star Wars, but I don't like it. And there's a lot wrong. I can talk about what's wrong with it. It's not even like, I don't even know why I don't like it. But if it's such a disappointment, that movie, there's a lot wrong with it. But give me more content in Battlefront 2. Put the Mandalorian in it. Put some stuff from Rise of Skywalker in it. They'll definitely do that. There's no question of that. Then there's Jedi Fallen Order, which I'm trying to hold off on being excited for, because again my Star Wars brain's like, it's Star Wars, it's going to be amazing, because it might not be, and we've actually seen very little, and it's out in less than a month.
Wow.
I think it's out on the 15th of November, and we've seen like 3 trailers, I think. One, the CGI one from a few months ago, then the gameplay one, and then a tiny like 2-minute teaser thing. But one thing I really want is more hero characters from different eras. Like, give me proper Jedi, like obscure ones that fewer people know about. Mace Windu, he's Sam Jackson, most people know about him, but people like Ki-Adi Mundi, who's basically got a really big head You see it, he's in the prequels. Kit Fisto, who looks like Predator, which is amazing.
Yeah.
They're doing well, but I want more. I want more content, which is a good thing. They've left me wanting more, and there's already a decent amount of stuff there. And that's despite the gameplay not being that great. It's just good Star Wars content in terms of like feel, the way it feels.
I get you, and we had a discussion earlier about how things look. The switcher and how it looks doesn't really matter because the gameplay is all there. It doesn't matter like it's just all scaled down and whatever. I got a feeling this type of game,
the opposite.
Yeah, exactly. It would not work on the Switch one bit because it's part of the enjoyment is what you see and how you hear it.
Getting the feedback, because it is such a cliche to say this sort of thing, but it's like playing the movie.
Yeah,
and that's what the best movie tie-in games emulate, and this basically is one. It's just not one specific movie. It's it's kind of a love letter to Star Wars fans now. It wasn't when it launched, because then it was a massive fuck you, but the way DICE have managed to update it for free and giving fans what they want.
Yeah, but I mean, they say for free, but it is supplemented by the microtransactions, right?
Which people obviously pay for, but from what I gather, having only played it for the past half a week, maybe a little longer, it doesn't affect gameplay at all. You don't buy your progression with it like it used to when it launched. Mm-hmm. It's just all the cosmetic stuff which you can forget about, or you can just earn fairly easily. I'm not going to say it's super easy, but if you just play the game, some of it's just unlockable by doing challenges. Like get a kill as this person, you get an emote.
Yeah,
I don't know why people care about emotes. I never understood that. One thing that I think is really bizarre, just to kind of close on, is that loot boxes are still there. They're just completely redundant.
Right.
So it's like they built the infrastructure for the loot box system of like, here's your item, it's going to go poof and open and huzzah, surprise. But they couldn't figure out how to take it out, because it tells you what's in there, and they're kind of seemingly randomly awarded. So like it'll just come up after I've done a few matches. Oh, you got a crate. Box. Okay, I know what's in there. Why don't you just come up with a notification? Oh, you unlocked
these items rather than a loot box.
Yeah, it's bizarre that it's still there.
Yeah,
but it doesn't do any harm to like the content.
Yeah.
But it potentially still has the whole gambling thing. Even though you can't buy them, you can see what's in them, and they just sort of appear.
That's weird.
It's really weird.
That is very weird.
But it's certainly not good, but it's not harmed my personal experience.
Yeah. I mean, it's I guess to a point where you just can't separate the game from the monetization for me. And then the fact that microtransactions are still there, and you say it doesn't affect anything, but the fact that there is a currency in the game, there's no need to have a currency. Like, a few 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever, you'd play a Call of Duty, and then the online component, you'd unlock, you do a kill streak, or you kill 100 players, whatever, 100 headshots, you'd unlock a skin, or you'd unlock a weapon. You wouldn't unlock money. You wouldn't, there wouldn't be money to be able to unlock additional items. There's no need for that, that currency, unless you're trying to incentivize buying that. So it's like, could they ever take away the in-game currency from the game? They can't separate that these days, because that's part and parcel of what a multiplayer game is for these AAA companies, which is a conduit for extracting money from your thing. So
the way you earn stuff, it's like you don't have like an overall character level or player level or anything. You don't prestige or anything like that. You earn currency as if you would earn XP. That's the way I kind of think of it. And then you spend that on stuff. But the best way to do it is make it a challenge instead of just grinding. Like, get
interesting.
Complete the campaign on hard mode. You'll unlock. I don't know.
Unlock as you play rather than unlock with money.
Yeah, and then because you don't need the microtransactions, but it's just what it is these days. And
I mean, the fact that you only paid 15 quid for it and EA didn't see a cent of that or a penny.
Yeah.
Is the takeaway here, right? That's the takeaway. You've had this experience with a franchise and an IP entertainment franchise that you really love.
Yeah.
And you've had a good time with it, regardless of what other monetizations in there, which you've completely ignored. And EA haven't seen a penny, and that is a win in my book.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
15 quid for more content than people got at launch who spent 60.
Yo, are you done now with that?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Otherwise, I won't stop talking about Star Wars and how it's the best thing.
Let's move on quickly before you start up again. 2, Fallout 76. Now, this is the same kind of thing, right? Exactly the same kind of thing. A game broken at launch, a lot of controversy, a lot of shit went down around launch, a lot of backlash, a lot of criticisms, a lot of trying to fix shit up, and a lot of I feel like they were trying to get away with a lot of shit with Bethesda, the same way as EA were with Battlefront. Now, this game has been out for coming up to a year now, November, right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, it's mid-November. So it's like 11 months since I played it, and they've got the Wastelanders update coming up next month. Now, the Wastelanders update will introduce human NPCs back to the game. I say back to the game because they're never there to begin with. And that's one of the things that it was missing, right? Were actual NPCs to talk to, companions to travel around with you. You know, the core Fallout experience, which makes Fallout awesome, completely missing and void in Fallout 76 because they went for the, retreading old ground here, I know, but they went for the multiplayer.
Yeah.
They went for the games as a service. They tried to monitor, recurrent consumer spending. That's what they were going for. That was the whole point of Fallout 76. Obviously, they felt the brunt of that. So I'm interested in the game now because, yeah, it's been a year. Is it still as shit? And my questions going in. I want to refamiliarize myself with the game so that when the Wastelanders comes out, I can see what the improvements have. What
the journey it's been on.
Yeah. So the Wastelanders, like I said, due out in autumn, and hopefully, my hope was that in the last 12 months they were able to fix. They had loads to fix from launch since last played. The bugs, performance issues, and all the missing content and shit like that. So in my experience, right, I installed it, which is like 100 gig or something stupid like 90 gig. Oh my god, it took ages at home. Bethesda launcher, click play, got to the menu screen, and the fucking resolution didn't match my screen. And I'm like, I can only see part of the menu here. Like, what are they doing? Is this indicative of what I've got to come?
Yes.
I was like, shit. So I had to find my way to the menu, go to the display settings and get the resolution sorted before I could do anything. And I was like, right, okay, do I carry on with my... Now I'm in now. Do I carry on with my player or do I make a new one? Let's make a new one, see what the new player experience is like now versus what I did when I originally played it. Created a character. 20 minutes in, I was like, yeah, I'm going to make... My original character was shit. I'm going to make sure that I get... I do a proper bespoke face, because they're all quite generic, and like makes something I'm really happy with. So 20 minutes in, which is a lot of time for me in a character creator, I was like, yeah, I'm happy with this. I got to the next screen is where you take a picture of the character, so it goes on like an ID card type of thing that comes up in the load screens. And as I was positioning the ID card, just taking the right picture, the game crashed and I lost all of my progress. And I was absolutely demoed. I was like, is this what they've done with their 11 fucking months? I don't even want to carry on. Anyway, I calmed down long enough to carry on. And it was funny because I was creating my second character. And then I had to go out and like get the kids from school or something, one of the numerous errands that I do. And then I came back after about half an hour and it had logged me out and my progress creating that character was gone because it didn't save. It didn't automatically save. So then again, I was pissed off. So the third character I created it so quickly and got out of the vault so quickly so I could fucking save it so I could get on with my game. Unreal, man. Absolutely unreal. So that was my experience, just getting to play their freaking game. And I'm like, obviously, they haven't fixed this fucking game. And then as soon as I started playing it, I realised that all the old problems were still there. The biggest one is the performance and the lag. It must be like the network delay or something. You shoot an enemy, and sometimes even if your crosshairs are bang on, they might like jump to the side and like it just feels like there's just so much delay there. It's not instant response. And it has to be the multiplayer component of it. And it's the same with if you're doing a melee attack. It's like a literal crap shot, right? It's a random. It's random whether you hit him or not. You could be lined up. He could be right in front of you. But at the last minute, he could just like jerk out of the way because of because on the servers or something, he'd moved and it hadn't refreshed on your computer. Oh, fucking hell. And that is ultimately what detracts from a huge amount of the fun for Fallout for me, because I do play it as a first-person shooter. I'm on a PC. I like to headshot. That's a lot of my enjoyment from these types of games, and it just feels incomplete. It just feels just not very good at all.
11 months, man.
You'd have thought that they could have optimized it to the point where they could minimize it at the very least, but I don't know. It's just not the best Fallout experience, and it's just way less enjoyable. It's an absolute shit show. So that was my third problem. The next issue, I got to the main mission area where you familiarize yourself with some of the mechanics. They tell you to purify some water or something like that, right? So you're following the Overseer's mission, which is, there's no NPCs, so it's just logs, right? So you get to the main first little town, and right there was a player camp. Right, and it was full of trade terminals selling everything that I could ever need in the game. Right, all the ammo, the really expensive ammo that big fat man explosive things, they were all for sale at like 1 cent. It was absolutely everything. There was armor, meds, weapons, everything I'd ever need at this player operated camp terminal thing. And it's like at that point, it's. I don't have to do anything in the game anymore. I just need money. I don't have to go out and scavenge. That's part of the gameplay loop of Fallout. Is that you go out in the world because you might need some food or something. Or you're running low on this, you're running low on that, and scavenging, getting new weapons and that. You don't have to do this. This allows you to forego all of that gameplay loop. The best part of in my eyes, what a Fallout experience is, the immersion. It completely tears you out of it and offers you everything on a plate.
It takes away all survival elements, and it's just, you don't have to survive now. You can just pay for it.
That's it. And it feels like they obviously they facilitated this as part of the one of the community suggestions around launch, that they could have these terminals, these trade terminals. But what it's done to the game, it's completely just destroyed and dissolved all atmosphere in the game. It's more like with all these players running around as well. Like there's a couple of dozen in each server, but they're all running around going about their own business, and you might be enter the same building and they're running around doing their thing. It's like you don't even exist to them. Right? Nobody does PvP. Everyone's running around trying to collect their stuff so they can put stuff in their terminal so they can make more money, whatever, so they can buy the better weapons from someone else's terminal or whatever. It's ridiculous, right? It's a money-making exercise. So you can imagine what it's turned into. And these they're literally ghosts of player characters just running around. That you might get an emote off one of them as they go about their business, and it's just it's really I don't know. It's
not exactly immersive, is it? For this they've butchered the whole survival thing. If there's so you can just buy everything, and there's idiots running around, not speaking with anyone, and just
Which it just underlines how Fallout multiplayer just doesn't work for me. Of all the things that I get out of a Fallout game, a Fallout experience, it's one of my favourite franchises, and I've played a lot. I've played everyone since the third one, since it went from being isometric. I played a lot of Fallout. A lot of time has gone into it for me, and it's, like I said, one of my favourite IPs, one of my favourite gameplay loops in terms of playing a game. And it's just not there in Fallout 76, and it's because it's a multiplayer game. There's no survival element to it anymore. There's no atmosphere. There's no immersion, and it just feels like a reason to sell like microtransactions or additional monetization. That's the whole reason it exists. There's just no enjoyment there for me. And talking of immersion breaking, another thing which underlines that point, that it is just about selling microtransactions, is that you go to a workbench and try and fix up your weapon and add mods to it or whatever, and if your weapon's damaged, you need to fix it up. So to do that, you need a repair kit. So usually if something isn't available in a workbench, it'll be grayed out, but the repair kits are not. they're available for you to select. So you select it, and then it prompts you, oh, you don't have any of these. Do you want to go and buy one from the shop? And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? It's like I'm trying to be immersed in this game. I'm trying to ignore this human ghosts running around. I'm trying to ignore the fact that they're selling everything I need at pittance. And the last thing I need is for you to tear me out of whatever immersion I've got remaining and slap me in the face with this prompt to get my credit card out. It's absolutely ridiculous. And it's the classic sales tactic, which is create a problem, which is you've got a broken weapon there, and sell you the solution.
That's 100% what it is.
That's what they do. So on that note, I played for a little, that was it then. I was like, fuck this. I'm going to play with my level 26 character. And I played for a little while. Equally uninspiring gameplay. The world is still very empty. And that's the thing, right? This world feels very empty. And it's so empty because there's no NPCs. And I'm hoping that the Wastelanders update does have a little impact on that. Because there's only robots and Scorched, which are the enemies, and the random mutant creature, whatever, like big boss that you got to fight. Other than that, in the world, it's completely empty. So the Wastelanders update, I don't know if I hold out much hope for it anymore, given the experience that I've had over the last couple of days on Fallout 76. But they're trying, right? Now, Jeff Gardner, who was the project lead on Fallout 76, said at E3 to PC Gamer, we realised in hindsight that what we do best is NPCs and talking.
In hindsight?
No shit,
anyone could have told you that. I don't even like Fallout, and I could have told you that.
Yeah. So that is, I mean, it's going to come. How they're going to implement it is as follows. When it arrives, the dialogue will be like Fallout 3, not Fallout 4, because Fallout 4 was really cheesy and really basic. There were only 4 options in terms of dialogue choices, and it just wasn't very deep at all. But so they're going back to the Fallout 3 players have demanded that the Fallout 3 style is the best, because it is. So NPCs themselves will be instants, so if you kill one, it doesn't affect anyone else's enjoyment. So you'll have a single instance with one character, so you can kill him. Someone else comes along, they'll still be able to interact with that character even though they're dead. So again, what kind of immersion is that? I don't know. They won't be walking around the map. They'll just be stuck to stuck to the locations, which I don't know how much moving around they used to do in the old Fallouts, really. So your conversations that you have with the NPCs happen one-on-one. So if you group with a bunch of friends, they won't experience that same dialogue with the person. They have to do that themselves because they want people to experience the story individually. They don't want everyone to partake in the one story at the same time, if that makes sense. So there's going to be settlers and there's going to be raiders, and you can ally yourself with, you do missions for them and ally yourself with either of the two, apparently, although there will be grey areas. It's not like hard settlers or hard raiders or whatever. You can do varying amount of missions for whatever and have, I guess there's a reputation system with each faction. And there will be companions coming, which is cool. So you can have romance options and personal quests for those companions, which will increase your reputation with those. That sounds cool. That's the Fallout what we need, that we want, right? That's the Fallout that I personally enjoy. So that's coming. I'll be trying it. I'll be checking it out, and I'll let you know what it delivers. But I'm not holding out any hope because it's simply the performance is so bad. It's so bad. I can't enjoy it for a first-person shooter. I just can't do it because it's laggy. It's horrible. How long they take to iron out all the issues that come along with the new update. Again, it's a Bethesda game. You can't trust them anymore. Like, there's going to be bugs. There's going to be issues. That. So I've got no hope. But I'm going to try it because I need to try and get some sort of money's worth. I bought the game, and I feel like they still owe me some enjoyment. And obviously I've learned this week that it's not there for me yet. Maybe in a couple of months when Wastelanders arrives, maybe in a couple of years' time, maybe like No Man's Sky did eventually, provided me with value for my money or value for my purchase. But I'm not losing hope on getting some of that value back. Yeah. But who knows?
Maybe it'll go the way of Battlefront and actually be almost good.
Who knows?
I'm not even sure if I would call Battlefront good, but it's a good Star Wars thing. I'm not sure if it's a good game in itself.
But that's it with these games as a service. You never know, and give it enough time, and that's what they're hoping, is that people stick around long enough for them to fix it up after the shitty launch that they have. But I don't know how much patience people have got. I don't have much more patience for Fallout 76, that's for sure. I'll quite easily go back to Fallout New Vegas and install a bunch of mods or whatever, and they're doing a full New Vegas like overhaul in Fallout 4 as well. So they're making Fallout New Vegas in Fallout 4 currently, which would be awesome, because that the new engine, be able to play Fallout New Vegas in the Fallout 4 engine, is awesome. So yeah, I'm sticking with Fallout as a franchise, but I've got no hope at all for Fallout 76. And that is that. Those is my thoughts.
There's still some people who apparently do enjoy it. So apparently there are players
there. There
out
are players there, but they don't enjoy Fallout for the same reasons that I do, right?
Yeah.
They do it for the community. There were people who wanted to play Fallout with their friends and wanted to have that communal experience, and that's not the gameplay loop I want, right?
I think we've talked about this before, but it's the same with games like Anthem or Ghost Recon, games which are generally getting dragged through the mud, but if you're playing it with a friend, you're probably going to be having fun, if that's the kind of gameplay experience you like. That's what I mean by being able to play Battlefront modes like Capital Supremacy offline and do that split screen, because I know a couple of my mates are massive Star Wars fans, but not really so much gamers, so we can just jump into a good battle, like, right, you be the Empire, I'll be the Rebels, let's have it.
That's it.
I'll trounce you.
Right then, on that note, let's move on to our final topic, although we are running a little long already, but we'll try and make this a little brief. We'll talk about the Oculus Quest, which we have the pleasure of owning now.
Yeah.
And this is all thanks to a visit from Mr. Metal Shark himself, visiting the offices on Tuesday. He came bearing gifts, and one of those gifts was a fucking Oculus Quest. You know, like you do. You know, just like, there you go. There's a huge technical a thing for you to play. There you go, guys. You know, happy. It wasn't even birthday. Like happy birthday, or what was it? It's like there you go. Yeah. Just for existing. But fair play to you, Mr. Metal Shark. Thank you, dude.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
You can come again.
Yeah. You can go next week if you like.
Well, we had planned to do a video on Tuesday with Metal Shark and doing something about the Switcher, but then when he whips out an Oculus, we're like, well, we can't not play it.
Yeah.
It'd be rude not to.
Yeah, it would have been rude. So we had to make the most of the time. So anyway, the Oculus Quest is the new, if anyone doesn't know what it is, right, it's the new, recently released, like 4 or 5 months. It's a VR unit made by Facebook, who now own Oculus. And the beauty of this is that it's self-contained. It operates without wires or any additional hardware whatsoever, right? You put the headset on, you've got things in your hand, and you play. There's no tethering, there's nothing. And it's, you know, it's a great experience for it. All my previous experience with VR was HTC Vive, which I've owned for a couple of years now. And that's relatively heavy and cumbersome. You get really sweaty quickly when you're playing it, and it detracts from the experience. You've got this big bloody cord coming out of the back, and you're aware of it, so you're immersed in this virtual reality world, and you've got to remember that in the non-virtual world, you've got this thing that's stuck to your back. You've got to whip out of the way all the time. So that's a bit of a detractor, and you've got these like base cameras stations that you got set up in your room. So it's you know, it was the first iteration, the first version of VR, you know, mainstream VR type of thing. So it served its purpose, but yeah, this Oculus Quest has a lot of advantages because it is like comfortable to wear. It's easy to set up and get playing quickly with no peripherals. You don't need a computer. You don't need any base stations. You don't need to like put them on your walls or whatever like that. None of that. You just pick up and play, and you can take it anywhere. You can take it to a friend's house. You can play wherever you want, and it's you know, it scales the room for you, and it can remember a bunch of rooms as well. So you can just go to very different locations, and it'll just, you know, carry on where you left off essentially. You are untethered. You've got nothing to plug it into, so you can play it up to, apparently officially the space is 25 foot by 25 foot, which is like 7.5 meters by 7.5 meters. That's a huge space, absolutely huge space.
Completely untethered.
Yeah, so you can just run around if you've got the space for it. And a lot of people will have that space, but if you've got it, my God. And you can also, and the other beauty of that over something like the HTC Vive, you can stream it to your mobile phone and buy games on your mobile phone or whatever. You use the store on your mobile phone, so people can watch you play on your phone.
Because that's half the fun of VR. Being in it in your own world, that's great. But watching your idiot mates get like swatting at invisible stuff is always hilarious.
Yeah, there you go. So the trade-off for there's always a trade-off, right? So the trade-off for that is that the games that you can buy on the Oculus are currently the Oculus store only. You can't run your Steam games on there or any other stores. You can't buy them from elsewhere. You can only get them from Oculus store, which is a bit of a limiting factor, right? The second trade-off is that the hardware is limited compared with what you can run on a PC, because it's all self-contained. It has to, the processor and all the hardware in itself, it's self-contained. You can Bluetooth stream your games from a PC. It is possible through side loading, using a third-party software, but it's not officially supported yet. It may or may not come in the future. And also the other trade-off is that it runs off an internal battery, and it's limited to around 2 hours of play time per charge, and it charges in about 3 hours. Although you can connect an external battery, and you can hook on the back of your head on the part of the harness kind of thing, or you can play while it's charging if you've got a long enough cable in a pinch. But both of those solutions detract from the overall playing experience, from the reasons why the Oculus Quest is so good in the first place. So it's just like a workaround. So those are the trade-offs in terms of what you're dealing with here. That it does provide an awesome experience, and it's just so easy to think you can just throw it on and play a game straight away without having to worry about anything else. And that in itself is a huge attraction. Going into the next generation of VR devices now, they're also bringing out the updating the software soon, so that it can trace your hands. You won't need the controllers anymore, so you just be able to interact with stuff. Like Minority Report, where it's just doing that's going to be awesome, absolutely awesome. I think it's February or something next year. Mind blowing if they can get that right. Yeah, that's going to be cool. Although I don't know how good it will be, finger gunning. It's not going to feel very cool. It's not going to be as good as actually pulling the trigger, but I'm sure we can. I'll just get some peripheral thing to pull the trigger on. Yeah. Or you could just get a model gun. A model gun. It doesn't need to even interact with the hardware anymore. If it senses your fingers, then it's going to sense some sort of toy gun or something. Yeah, as long as you can. Yeah, that could work. I'm sure that's going to work. Anyway, for my money, having used it very briefly, but having played a first generation VR like HTC Vive, and then you could say it's a second generation, which is the Oculus Quest. I think the future's bright for VR. I really do. I think that they're focusing on the right things, which is the user experience. Yeah. They're taking away all the frustrations, and they're making it a lot easier to just jump in and play. And just the little fact that they've got speakers on the unit now, and you don't have to stick your headphones in. I don't know if that always was the case with Oculus. I don't know, but in HTC Vive you don't get speakers, so you have to be completely immersed and shut from everybody else. Whereas with this, you can hear the thing and not have to shut you can still have a conversation with someone as well as playing the game, and that in itself is just something. Again, it's just user experience is just that much better. So I definitely think VR and AR are just on the cusp of being the ultimate thing. It's not quite there. It's just the quality of games that's the next step, and getting proper blockbuster experiences in your thing. Yeah. Although if you're limited to 2 hours, that might be detrimental to that. But we're almost there. Yeah, the technology's gone in the right direction. I've got a lot of hope for it now. And one thing I saw recently, which I mentioned the other day, was that there's these experiences that you can get with, you can go and have a zombie experience, and you zombie apocalypse, you run through a warehouse and zombies are chasing you, you've got to escape or whatever. Well, now they're doing a Ghostbusters experience with AR. So you stick these AR glasses on, and in your environment you can have ghosts popping up and running around. You've got to catch them and unpack them, and it's just amazing. And that sounds awesome. It's those types of experiences. Obviously, technology gets better, it gets more powerful, and can be lighter, so it doesn't affect your maneuverability in that so much. That that's how they're going to make it into the next generation. Anyway, we are running very short on time now. We're going to take a short break and be back with the questions and the YouTube comments. Don't go away. And welcome back to the second part of the podcast this week. We are going to jump into the Patreon questions now. And these questions are put to us by our faithful, loyal supporters over on the Discord. Patreon.com/prettygoodgaming is how you get access to the Discord, as well as access to the podcast a couple of days early, as well as all the other rewards on the Patreon page. So if you do enjoy the content, you want to support the channel, support us bringing you these videos, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming and get involved with the community. And first up, let's ask a question. Do you want to do the first one, Mr. Henry?
Vienticus Prime. Here we go. Gaz Henry, remember when I asked a couple of months ago about gaming companies censoring people? My question now is, what happens when it's an equally egregious banning, but the majority of people do nothing and don't complain simply because they don't like the person or the statement? So someone's banned for something or other.
Censoring, yeah.
Yeah, and then the public don't talk about it because they don't like them as a person, irrespective of what's actually been said.
I mean, it's just a popularity contest, isn't it? At the end of the day, it doesn't make it any righter, because anyone getting censored, I guess, is not ideal. Whether it's, well, I mean, you can argue in the Blizzard case that it's their platform, it's their company, it's up to, it's their event, it's up to them what they allow people to discuss. If they don't want anything controversial discussed, it's up to them to set the rules. But still, freedom of speech is a thing. There's two conflicting sides of it there. But yeah, what happens when somebody I mean, I believe in freedom of speech, obviously to a point where you can't incite people for violence and stuff like that. I think that type of speech is rightfully illegal. But I mean, it all depends on the case. I mean, there's nothing specific here, but still, in general, people should be allowed to talk, regardless of how popular they are. I mean, yeah. I hark back to the other week when I mentioned that Socrates was tried and convicted against a court, room of judges. He was found guilty of corrupting the youth, and it was only after he was killed, sentenced to death, that people decided that he wasn't actually guilty. But everyone at the time thought he was guilty, and he was the minority, and he was still right.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, just because he's not popular doesn't mean it's not right or valid.
I see stuff, not a lot, but anytime there's a controversy involving a traditionally, let's say, oppressed or marginalized group, say it's someone from the black community, they then do something bad, and then people who would normally be against that sort of thing won't call him out because he's a black guy, and it's the whole representation or whatever. It's not quite to the extent where that's like a hashtag, but you see it all the time. It's like, I don't like what he did, but representation, I guess, because he's from a less privileged, let's say, environment.
Mm-hmm.
But like, if he's doing bullshit, it's still bullshit. Same with any time you see, because common argument is the dominant business people are white men. So if you ever see a woman dominating in business, if she then does something bad, a lot of people won't have a go at her who are pro-woman because she's like that. I see that kind of stuff quite a lot.
Yeah.
But it's still bullshit, because if you're doing bad shit, I don't care who you are.
Yeah. It's these people who want to segregate the population into different groups. It's like, black people are a member of the black people group. Women are a member of the women group. Like, everyone wants to split everyone else into groups, whereas I don't see people in groups, and that's just the way I see things. And therefore, if someone fucks up, I don't care what group they're in, they're going to get criticism. And if someone does good, I don't care what group they belong to, they deserve to be praised. And that's just the way I see it. And it's only like the last few years with all this compartment, with everyone talking about the whole woke thing, and everyone's like transgender rights and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I get where people are coming from. I mean, I'm not trying to say anything political here, but what I'm saying is that this has woke me up to the fact that people still think of themselves in groups, and it's the ones who are trying to defend their own group that are the worst at it, really, sometimes. It's very political, this talk, and I'm just explaining how I see the world, but I don't see people in as groups. I see our one humanity. That's the way I've always seen it.
Except the Welsh versus the English.
Apart from the Welsh,
I mean, establish that.
We were suppressed and subjugated for so long by the fucking English.
Yeah, but you're a bunch
you deserve
of
it. It's in your DNA.
Savage Celts, and we brought civilization and stuff.
That's
with
a lie. Vikings, civilization.
Well, I'm not
Saxons.
Vikings. Saxons were fine. Vikings
were
just...
Were they, though?
Well, probably... Well, none of them were fine.
Were they?
Well, that's one thing we can round off this conversation. It doesn't matter how bad things are now. Sure shit better than it was then.
Yeah.
Then your little village, which your family built 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago, and then a bunch of Vikings come in and burn it down. Nobody wants
You retreat to the hills of Wales and make your last stand and survive. That's the Welsh way. Anyway, moving on to Bit Hayes' question. Thanks for your question, by the way, Mr. Vienticus. Bitface says, hey, Gaz Henry, I was wondering when you might change one of these official channels up at the top here in Discord to an announcement channel. Changes icon from hashtag to megaphone. That way people can subscribe to it and other good stuff. I think hashtag PGG broadcast would be a great candidate. Yeah, I guess we could do that. I think it works well as it is. Why wouldn't I think there's nothing stopping from anybody from subscribing to hashtag PGG broadcast now, I guess.
No, I don't know.
I mean,
if it ain't broke.
I guess a little housekeeping would be in order if we had the time and inclination. So I guess this is a good opportunity to ask the Discord members, Patreon members, any improvements that you would want making to the Discord. I know we don't pay as much attention as we perhaps should, as in the functionality of Discord and stuff like that. I know people have made suggestions in the past to do with adding bots which allow you to group up in different teams, and then you versus again segregating the population. But any quality of life improvements that would make your life easier or better as a Discord member, let us know, because this is the opportunity, and then maybe we'll get around to doing it. Maybe we won't. Who knows?
Well, let's move on to another question from Vientrius Prime. So, how come we haven't heard any bad dad jokes in the videos anymore? You have @tons2on2. Tons. Oh, yeah.
You have tons of good ones
to pick from. Nice pun that I just butchered.
That's why.
Yeah, that's
Henry
why.
butchers them.
We haven't heard any bad jokes. Well, it's because we've kind of changed the format of the videos, and bringing them back in wouldn't really work.
They don't work in the voiceover videos.
Yeah.
They work in the videos that like the daily news roundup ones, which we haven't done for a while. I'm not saying we don't do them anymore or won't do them anymore in future. There's always scope for changing the way we do things, and we do have a plan in the next 3 months, within the next 3 months, short-term plan, to kind of diversify the types of content we're making, not just the voiceover videos, but we're always looking to change. So it's just a case of this format is working well for us right now. We're seeing some good figures from these videos, let's say. So we're going with what's working right now. So there's no room for dad jokes in the current format, but watch this space, I guess.
Yeah, I mean,
at the part
they might come back.
Yeah,
they will find a way.
I'm sure they will, without doubt.
Anyway, there's a follow-up. Also, if you decide between no more video games and no more bacon for the rest of your life, how much would you find yourself just wishing that you were never put in that situation in the first place?
Yeah. Obviously bacon would have to go, right?
Yeah, I eat bacon literally every day for breakfast. I get a bacon and sausage roll from Greg's. It's not very good, but hey, it does the job.
I had bacon this morning too.
But yeah, I'd probably pick video games to stay. Bacon can leave.
Well, bacon can be substituted, right?
Just give me more sausages instead.
You can have a steak for breakfast. It's probably the better option anyway. You could have gammon. It's the same animal, right?
Pigs produce the best food. Sausages, bacon, gammon, ham, pork.
I disagree with you there. It's cow.
Yeah, steaks are amazing, but
burgers, man.
Yeah, but burgers. There's a lot of really shit burgers.
True,
but there's also a lot of really good ones. But it's with other shit in there.
I'll tell you what I had for breakfast this morning. I had bacon. Yeah, I had Aberdeen Angus burgers and eggs. And I tell you what, the beef, bacon, and eggs, hands down, it's a great breakfast. But you want to pick your burgers that have the high meat content. So you want to look in the back. Anything lower than 95% beef is a no-no because they fill it with all sorts of shit. They throw loads of grains and all sorts of shit in there. So let's just be selective over our meats, and we'll all be fine without bacon.
What about if you had to get rid of steak or video games?
Well, that's a better question. That is a better question, and I don't know. Is the answer because video games provides me my YouTube channel, the living, right? Whereas steak is primarily what I eat all the time. So I'm literally in a dilemma here, which I might get back to next week with the answer because what's that dilemma where there's like two equally bad choices and you can't choose? Yeah, there's another. It's Catch 22 is what it is, yeah.
Right. Well,
something like that. Anyway, thanks for the question again, Mr. Vienticus. Next, not that Rob Lowe, and this is the question that Rob's running question now is that every single year after your birth, you have to name your favourite game. Now, we started 6 weeks ago, and so every single year we choose and decide what was our best game. So Rob's question, 6 years old, life is pretty awesome, Santa's real, the Tooth Fairy is leaving us fairly steady income and our favourite games are getting better by the year. But what is it? Gaz chose 2 bangers last week in Paperboy and Commando, but 85 for me has to be Super Mario Brothers, simple, fun and still plays well today. A few honourable mentions go to Gauntlet, Way, the Exploding Fist, and Yi Ah Kung Fu. Good choice. One I didn't mention. So, 6 years after birth, which year is that for you?
Me, that is
5 turning 6.
2001, the year of our Lord. And I had a bit of a dry patch in 2000. There was a few good titles, but not so much. 2001, totally different story. Mm-hmm. Halo, the original one. GTA 3, Metal Gear Solid 2, Super Smash Bros. Melee, original Devil May Cry, Sonic Adventure 2 on Dreamcast. Oh, this...
You got to pick one of them.
Yeah, it's really tough. And they're all very different kinds of games that were all influential in different ways. But the one I would say is not necessarily the best, but my favourite that I've probably sunk the most time into. Mm-hmm. Probably Smash Bros. Melee. Played that's a staple of my childhood.
Right. Smash Bros.
Because I got to Metal Gear, which is the close second. Metal Gear a little bit later, and that's probably the best game in terms of game and storytelling and all that shit. But then there's GTA 3, which completely changed the way the industry is now. Without GTA 3, Smash Bros is what it is though. Because
not your head.
If I took that out of my childhood and out of time, I wouldn't be the same man I am today.
And there we go. What would the world be like without the Henry as we know and love? But
don't go that far.
My year is 1986, which is the 6th year after my birth. I was 5 turning 6, and what happened in 1986 is a little bit of a refresher for those of you who weren't even alive back then, most of you probably. It was the year that the first Legend of Zelda game was ever published. So it was just called Legend of Zelda. Metroid, the very first actual Metroid, was released, and Castlevania. Like those two things separate were launched in the same year.
3 heavy hitters there.
Yeah, that was a big year for gaming. Bethesda as game studios were founded, as well as Square Co. Limited, as it was known back in the day before it became
Square Enix. Yeah.
So my games, it was a toss-up of 4, of which I remember. It was quite slim pickings, really. I'll be honest. Bubble Bobble was one. Bobble, you little dragon and your bubbles and stuff. It was fun. Solomon's Key was another one. That was really cool. Solomon's Key. I didn't play a lot of it, but from I remember it was very. I think my cousin had that one. My runner-up goes to Outrun. I spent so much time playing Outrun.
I loved Outrun.
And it was again another one from the arcades, but played it for days and days and days, and it's just the next level in terms of racing games in the day. But my winner, and this is a simple gameplay game, is Arkanoid. And everyone will recognise what Arkanoid is, and everyone's played a game like Arkanoid. You literally, it's like Pong, but one player, right?
Oh, yes.
And you got to bash the blocks, and then advance the
and then you get it really good when you can get it up the side and go like that along the top.
And you get it down the side, you just try and angle it, and then you get and you get special drops, and then you've got like you press the button to shoot the bricks, and that's like an OP. Amazing. Where you get 3 balls, like one, it splits into 3, and then you try and keep the 3 balls. My God. Good days, happy days, and thanks for your question again.
You said the word Arkanoid, I was like, I don't know what that is, but then seeing this, I'm like, that's Arkanoid. Yeah. Gotcha.
Anyone who sees it will know. There you go. Thanks for your question. Not that Rob Lowe.
Where are we? Next up is Earthworm Ben. So, 2-part question here. After all the controversy of a publisher and a game, brackets, Ublets, Epic, Gearbox, etc., would playing through a great game that has a notorious ethical or moral development actually hinder your enjoyment? So that's
with it being
okay, I'll read through the whole thing, then we'll come back and answer it. With it being on your mind, on the flip side, Cyberpunk 2077, for example, is a bit of a flop or a buggy mess for months. Would the general consensus that you may have seen it in a neutral light and stop playing it, or would you try to enjoy it? So if a game comes out and it's all really good, but the behind the scenes stuff was a bit shifty, will that impact your personal enjoyment of that product?
Mm-hmm. So the same, so we can draw a parallel here with Battlefront 2, right?
Yep.
Or any EA game, we can say. It's EA, it's a shitty development, shit microtransactions in the game, that them kind of things are there. Does all that backstory affect you playing the game?
I think this is a very personal thing, and a lot of people disagree, but I don't think it does at all, because if I liked EA and supported what they're doing, I would have bought the game through them, like through an online store or something.
Yeah.
But I want to play the game and experience Star Wars and the creativity, but I don't want to support bad practices like that. So I made that decision. But then also in cases like, let's take Red Dead Redemption 2 with Rockstar and their huge crunch culture that was all in the news, and who knows to what extent that was, because there's conflicting reports. But I really enjoyed that game, and the situation was awful, and we covered it when it was a hot topic. But it's made for a really good game, in my opinion. And I don't think that ever is a barrier. Gaming, I think, is a little bit different. I think stuff like music is really interesting, because that's normally smaller scale, like 1 or 2 people, like a band, or like a few creatives, rather than a team of hundreds of people and marketers and publishers and everything. Easy example for me is someone like Michael Jackson, who's got loads of controversy around him all the time, people bringing it up. Whether or not it's true or not, I don't know. And realistically, it's so far gone now, it's more or less irrelevant.
Yeah. It's a good.
But he could be the most despicable person. He could have done these horrendous things that people are alleging. Yeah. That he can be a bad person, but his music is still good, in my opinion, obviously.
Yeah. Does it detract from your enjoyment of the music, knowing that this guy might have diddled kids? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
he can still be a despicable piece of shit.
We don't know that. We don't conclusively know that.
That's what I mean.
People like to say that because it's Michael Jackson.
I don't think he did it. I think he's certainly a weird guy, if we want to get specific. I think he was weird, but I don't think he did anything.
Yeah, it's a good comparison to make, though. That's for sure. Would playing through a great game that has a notorious ethical or moral development actually hinder your enjoyment? For me, wouldn't affect my enjoyment. If it was so bad, if the controversy was so bad that I made a stand and didn't play it, then I wouldn't have to deal with that moral dilemma anyway.
If it's a game,
that's generally what I do.
Yeah, like if it's a game where I'm like anticipating it and I've decided, I'm going to buy that no matter what, I'll buy it anyway. If I'm not sure about it and I see all this behind the scenes drama, I'm like, okay, well, then I'm not going to support them.
Yeah,
because I'm not like emotionally invested yet.
Yeah, I'd never be thinking about the controversy while I'm playing the game, and that would never affect how I enjoy it. Maybe it would, I don't know, because I don't tend to buy those games if I'm feeling that way about it. And the other side of the question was, if it was a flop or a buggy mess for months, would the general consensus that you may have see it in a neutral light and stop playing it? or would you try to enjoy it? Cyberpunk 77, for example.
So if people are saying a game, well, you've probably got an easy example of this with The Witcher, which we've already talked about. Everyone gave glowing reviews of The Witcher 3. You didn't like it so much, at least the first couple times, and that was enough. You're not going to change your opinion to bend to what other people say.
No, I think there's a certain amount of self-reflection. When I play a game like that and I realise that I'm not enjoying it, I have to reflect on the fact that I'm not enjoying it for certain specific reasons. It's not because the game is bad. It's not because the game is not well made. Because it's quite evident that it is, right? The game is very good for lots of reasons, but personally, I have to be self-aware enough to realise that it's just not connecting on a personal level, and that game isn't bad because of it. It's because you have to be objective enough to be able to, or you have to try and reach that sort of objectivity where you can understand the difference between not liking it for personal reasons and just thinking it's a bad game. Yeah,
something can be good and you not enjoy it, and you can enjoy bad. Like I was saying, the Star Wars prequels, they are bad, but I like them. The acting is awful. The special effects are horrendous. What is happening with the plot? It's overblown. Who knows what's going on? Really, it's convoluted, but it's fun.
Like all roads lead to Rome. All conversations lead to Star Wars.
Oh, they all do. I can get to Star Wars from anywhere.
Thanks for question, Mr. Earthworm Ben. And actually, you've got another one. So Sony finally announced cross-play. It seems a bit unusual considering their market share. What are your ideas on Sony finally giving in? I could only think they have seen the big hitters like Fortnite, Rocket League, etc. being played on other systems. Now, you say a bit unusual considering their market share, but that only applies for this console generation. As soon as it resets for the next console generation,
which is a little over a year now,
they're going to try and win. They're going to try and have to win favour with the public, with the consumers, in order to get their PlayStation 5 in people's houses rather than the next Xbox in people's houses, which is the decision every consumer has to make when everything resets in the new console generation. Now, they won a lot of favour at the beginning of this console generation because Xbox shat the bed with the whole always on DRM, no borrowing games or whatever, and it was an absolute shit show. And it was an open goal for them. They just had to slot it in. It's what they did with absolute beauty. I think it was at E3 where this is how we trade. This is how we swap games with our friends. I don't know if you've seen that clip, but it's it was easy for them. This so coming in on a new, fresh console generation, they're going to have to think of ways to win favor with the public, with the masses, and this is it, right? They can't appear to have anything worth criticizing or easily criticizable for people to make YouTube videos and get annoyed about. So this is this is why they're giving in here, because they can't. They literally, from a PR point of view, could not weather this. It would probably impact their revenue streams or profitability for the next few years drastically if they were to stick to the guns and say, oh no, because of the backlash.
Well, the wins outweigh the losses, because if people are playing on your system with crossplay, they're still on your system. They're just going to have a better experience, so you get that good faith with consumers. The trade-off is that you're not forcing people to buy your system.
Yeah.
But it's better for the consumer and therefore indirectly better for them for brand recognition and stuff. But people will still be playing on the PlayStation system because they won't have to give up on that and then buy a PC or an Xbox to play with their friends who are playing it. They can keep their system and keep giving Sony money through that and play with their friends, and it's more of a win for everyone than it is a loss for everyone to restrict it. And giving in like this, I think, is a good way to put it, interestingly, because Sony are quite notoriously closed off, and they're doing it, they're marching to their beat and doing it the way they want, which has been successful for them. Obviously, they've done very, very well. But with this new console generation about to come out and Microsoft making some interesting chess moves before the game really begins, they're needing to broaden things out and be open to new ideas beyond what their status quo is.
Well, that's none more apparent than when they announced Microsoft and Sony have got some sort of
their cloud thing.
Yeah, they're working together as some sort of cloud thing. So I don't know, mate. Obviously, Microsoft and Phil Spencer's outlook on the games industry is like we should all be playing together. That's been his mantra or his philosophy for a while now. Is like there should be no barriers for people enjoying games with one another. Now
Sony's was literally the opposite, being PlayStation is the only place you should be playing, like the best place to play.
So yeah, it is interesting because it's all the horses are on the blocks again now. They're in the stocks. What is it? What do you call it? What do they go in?
Oh, I can't remember.
All the horses are on the starting line, and we're ready to, the starting gun is ready to fire. Everything, it's all up in the air now. We don't know how it's going to pan out. Maybe Xbox wins this next generation like they did the generation before this one. So who knows? But thanks for your question, Mr. Earthman Ben.
Next up is Metal Shark. What would you want from a Switch Pro as compared to a Switch 2? Do you think things like the specs to play Cyberpunk 2077 or games in 4K would be a good move, or would you prefer an improvement in materials and durability instead?
So, basically, do we want better behind the hood, under the hood hardware, or better physical, like screen and controls or whatever? Like, what's the trade-off? I don't think 4K would be a good idea for the Switch.
No, I don't think it's necessary, especially for handheld, because it is so small.
Yeah.
I'd rather, given those binary options, I'd rather vote for an improvement on materials and durability. Yeah. Better battery, better Joy-Cons that actually feel like a substantial bit of kit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the reason we had a discussion with Metal Shark while I was here on Tuesday. The reason why Cyberpunk 2077 will not ever come to the Switch is because it has such limited hardware that the engine itself literally could not run. It doesn't have enough system resources to run the new engine. Was it Red Engine 4, 5? Something like that. Yeah. Metal Shark screaming at his screen now, saying, I know which one it is, because he's one of those guys who just remembers everything. But so the new version of the engine that CD Projekt are using for Cyberpunk literally will not fit on the Switch. So there's no way it'll ever come to the Switch currently. And I would much rather they update the processor and the RAM to allow it to be able to play these games, because I've seen myself firsthand with The Witcher on the Switch. Like, it's not the prettiest game, and it has its issues technically, but the fact they've got it running on the game means that I can have hours and hours and hours of enjoyment. It's a lot more than could be said if they just updated the Joy-Cons or the screen. I mean, it would be nice to have a good screen, a better screen and better Joy-Cons. I completely admit, but having the proposition of something like Cyberpunk or games like Cyberpunk on a Switch device is ultimately why I have to go for that.
Yeah, I think the ultimate thing I want from a Switch Pro is just the library of games. If they can figure out a way, just because a game like Breath of the Wild, it's huge. There's so much content in there. Whether or not you like the kind of content is, they have the capacity to do large scale things. So if they can figure out how to make games with that kind of scope, not necessarily that kind of game, but like you can make an open world thing like Cyberpunk or like Breath of the Wild, for instance, but if you make it like in a lo-fi style like Breath of the Wild, which looks really pretty in its own way, you can cut a lot of corners, like the graphical fidelity taking up too many system resources. You can get through that by just making it kind of stylish and quirky, but keeping the mechanics really interesting and the actual gameplay really interesting. Yeah,
there are ways to get around you can get a Nintendo Switch Pro controller if you're not happy with the Joy-Cons or whatever. You can't, there's no way to get around. I mean, the more AAA games on the Switch, the better in my eyes, and the more system resources it has in order to facilitate that, the better. So give me a souped up on steroids Switch any day. Thanks for your question, Mr. Metal Shark. Isn't me?
Yeah, you're up for the final question.
Final question, Mr. Tons, staying in the same lane as Metal Shark. What do you expect from the next-gen consoles, and what would you like to see improve? For me, Xbox really needs to up the ante with exclusives. Gears 9, Last of the Bro Dudes, sounds nice and all, but some fresh blood is nice, and Sony needs to step up their backwards compatibility. Well, we just heard that Sony are stepping up their backwards compatibility, and from all indications, the amount of developers that Microsoft have bought up recently, I think they're up to like 13 studios now, or they're definitely in the double digits, that's for sure. there should be a lot more exclusives.
New IPs. That's what I want. I want new IPs. That's one. I've said it before. One of the reasons I'm most anticipating Death Stranding is because it's brand new. It's probably going to suck.
Yeah.
Based on everything I've seen, I'm not too impressed, but I'll still play it and I'll still figure it out for myself. But I want new IPs. Want people thinking about new ways to do things, or revisiting things like God of War did. In the sense, like, it's not just a reboot with graphical stuff. It's not just a sequel for the sake of a sequel. It's like, okay, what can we actually add to this?
Yeah.
In a new way, in almost a different genre.
Yeah.
In terms of the actual console itself, I'm not that fussy when it comes to specs. Just smooth, and load times can. All that's gonna be cut anyway because of the SSD, which is confirmed. Everything I was talked about last week about the controller sounds great, because as we said, I prefer controllers to a keyboard. So that is pretty much on the money for me. I want a good controller. That and some just decent games. Games is more important than the system to me.
Yeah, it makes sense. It makes sense. What do you expect from next-gen consoles? Well, I expect from the consoles, I don't know, I guess we already kind of know what to expect. The information's kind of dripping out gradually. What would you like to see improve? I'm not really a big console gamer anyway, so I just like to have that extra. We'll go into the comments from last week's podcast in a minute, because I was being a bit of a bitch last week, apparently a bit of a console disparaging bitch. But yeah, I just like to see more system resources for the developers, and not allow them to be limited. I think streaming will blow the lid off that, and things like Google Stadia will allow games to run at the top end, to the masses, allow games to be developed for the top end systems. So hopefully, above all else, I don't want consoles to hold back development and developers in order to realize their ambitions, essentially. But more on that in just a while, when I read some of the comments from last week. That is it for the Patreon questions this week. If you want to ask a question for us for next week in the podcast, head over to the Discord, the hashtag AskGazSomething channel. You leave it there, we'll ask it in the next podcast. Again, another channel we should probably update the name for, because it was named before we even cropped the questions for the podcast from there. Anyway, let's move on now to the top YouTube comments from this week's videos. And first up, we have the famous by now Triggered Fanboy comment of the week. So this week's Triggered Fanboy comment of the week was on last week's podcast. I triggered a load of console players last week, and the Triggered Fanboy comment. It's not a total rant. I'll just read it. Niltos comments. Obviously, the context for this is that I was talking about how consoles are holding back gaming because it's a 6-year cycle, and then the hardware is there for 6 years, and so developers don't have up to, on a PC, for example, you got new hardware all the time. You can develop to whatever new technology there is, but on a console you're confined to all these system resources, and it's holding games back. I said, like a doofus, and I triggered a lot of people. So Niltos said, I'm a PC player since the demo of AoE, and I love it. 99% of the time, I agree with your whinge, but all this BS about Red Dead, there is so much you want changed from it that makes me wonder if you're really interested in playing it at all, or just going full grandma for the likes and views. The RDR series is firstly a console game. PC, in this case, comes second. I love playing mouse and keyboard, but please stop being a baby.
I did not see that being the direction that was going. Like, I was probably going to be someone complaining because they are a console player primarily, but no, okay, it's a PC guy complaining about the Red Dead thing.
I did stick the knife in Red Dead because I had to play it on the controller, right? Because I was being a bitch last week. I know I was being, and I knew at the time I was being a bit of a bitch. I fully acknowledge I have the capacity to be a little bitch. So, I mean, I don't disagree, but saying RDR series is firstly a console game, PC in this case comes second. I mean, that's not necessarily. I don't think that's true.
Well, the original was that delayed on PC?
It didn't come to PC
at all. Well, then he is right about that. It's primarily console. The thing about the console PC debate, and CD Projekt brought this up when talking about the Witcher 3 downgrade, right? Saying that if we made it just for PC, we could make it look prettier and everything, but without limit, if we don't make it for the consoles, we won't be able to do that because we won't have enough money, because the console market sells more, generally speaking, in like the AAA space. So
the good news for PC gamers is that the market share of PC games has gone up, and it is going up year on year now. So PC gaming is getting more attention from developers and publishers now, because it's becoming, obviously consoles overall is the biggest market share, but PC gaming in itself is bigger than Sony or PlayStation individually, right? So that's important.
It's just pricing. That's the big barrier for entry.
Yeah, we'll go into that in a bit, because there's a few other rants about my and backlash to what I said last week. Yeah, but they're entitled to their opinion. So,
do you want to jump into another one? Or
I'll jump straight in there, because it's on the same
Knock
thing.
them out of the way.
Thanos Funny Ass says PC Master Race equals spent 3,000 to 4,000 compared to €300 pounds for slightly better shadows and FPS, the comfort of using a keyboard, question mark, and the joy of dealing with numerous bugs and glitches, mostly Windows related, along with a plethora of game launchers / clients / DRM, etc. By the way, I was one for close to 20 years. Now, if you're paying £3,000 to £4,000 for a PC, then you're being absolutely mugged off by somebody, dude. There's no way you should be paying anything like that for a decent PC, which will get you like 60 frames a second on a 1080p, which is how I play, or any higher than that. I mean, just over £1,000, I would say you'd get a decent 4K rig these days. If you want to go like just under £1,000, you'd get a decent 60 1080p. That's kind of a ballpark compared to €300 pounds for slightly better shadows FPS. Slightly better shadows FPS on a £4,000 rig. It's not going to be slightly better, dude. You're noticing the difference at that point. Joy of dealing with numerous bugs and glitches. That isn't exclusively a PC problem anymore,
that's
dude.
Very powerful.
That is no matter what platform you're on, you get bugs and glitches these days. No matter what platform. Plethora of game launchers, clients, and DRM. Well, you get DRM on consoles. You can. I mean, can you pirate games on PlayStation? I don't even know. You still get PlayStations chipped, and you get like
we had a chipped PS1 back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. I don't know. But more choice for game launchers. I've got no problem with that. I don't know. It's a preference thing. But exaggerating the price of a PC isn't helping your argument, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm not techie, so I don't really care. As long as the game runs well enough, then I'm satisfied. Yeah,
I mean it's all about people's budgets, right? If they've only got £300 to spend, I get that, and I get it's bringing a lot more money into the market where it wouldn't do. You think about the amount of people who bought consoles to play games that would never buy PCs because it's just too intimidating for them, and who like the convenience of just sticking a disc in and playing, as convenient as that's supposed to be these days. I mean, I get that. I totally get it. Without consoles, the industry wouldn't be half the size. It really wouldn't. But I've got my preference. I was being a dick last week. I acknowledge it. So let's just all agree to disagree and move on, okay, on the same, I've got to read this.
I was going to say, you've got to read this next one before I tell you one, just to round it off.
Sawkins89. Hey, could you guys make a 2-hour podcast of Gareth whining about consoles? Oh, all right, thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what you got last week.
Yeah, there you go.
There you go. You're welcome. That
was glorified cardboard cutout, just letting you do what you got to do.
I've actually got another one before we move on. Yeah, this is the last one. I promise this is the last one, right? Darth Jar says, hey guys, I can do this on my PC too. No one cares, D-bag. Stop comparing consoles to PC. Fair. I mean, that's fair. And this last one, guy with a knife, actually, it did actually cut me quite deep, this one, because... Nice. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm here for. A guy with a knife comments quite often, and I always know he's got one of those names that I always stick out for me. He says, indeed, sure, he can do it on his PC, but he also paid 4 times the amount for it. I just want to play decent games. I don't care about the latest graphics, and don't feel like paying huge money for it. So, fuck off, guys. You're acting like a child. Agreed. Totally agreed. I say this as someone who spent 10 years as a PC gamer and switched to PS4 because I wanted good games and didn't want to have to buy super expensive hardware. I play some indie games on my laptop, but that's about it. I get why I triggered people last week. My attitude wasn't the most accepting, and I was being a little narrow-minded. I have the capacity for that. I apologise for anyone that I did trigger because I was being a dick. That simple. Can we move on? Yeah,
now? Are we done with PC? I don't think I've got one. I've only got a couple here because we didn't, other than that one, which were all around the same topic, we didn't offend too many people recently.
Yeah. I'm glad I did offend some people because otherwise I wouldn't have anything to read.
So there was all part of the plan.
As long as you can forgive me, guys, then we can move on together.
Right, so I've got one here which is on, I think it's the Blizzard update video from, and that's a complicated name, I Had a Life Before This. That wasn't too difficult. I'm still terribly upset with the profanity check in RDR2. All I wanted is to ride Sasha Grey, but apparently her name is profanity. Now, in case you don't know, Sasha Grey is an adult actress, is I think the way you're supposed to call it.
Porn actress.
Yeah, sex worker.
Say it like it is.
Yeah. You probably, if you're a viewer of such material, which obviously we aren't as civilized gentlemen.
Well, you knew who Sasha Grey was and I didn't.
It definitely took Googling. No, she's not a porn star anymore. I think she's retired
like Mia
from
Khalifa,
that.
Right?
Yeah, well...
not that I know who she... I obviously Googled that one too.
I think Mia Khalifa's hilarious. She's so funny because she's so switched on to just fucking with NBA players and stuff all the time. Anyway, yeah. These people, they're not in the industry anymore. They're trying to do other things and
kind of branch out.
Yeah. Although I think it's hilarious that Rockstar have banned Sasha Grey and riding Sasha. That's funny. He's just trying to have a bit of fun with it.
Yeah.
Like, that's amazing. Because you can name your horse, in case you didn't know. You can name your horse.
Can't name it. Sasha Grey. On the topic of censoring, Black Comrade says on the CD Projekt Red Cyberpunk 2077 video this week, fucking shitty Aussie censors. I can easily and legally get oxys and smash hookers, but me doing that in a video game is bad. Fucking cunts.
Yeah.
It's funny and he's got a good point, so nice comment.
I challenge you to read that in an Aussie accent though.
No, because I'll just get fucking slayed.
Exactly.
I'll get slayed.
Yeah. This is what I want. I'm teeing you up to get trashed.
My Aussie accent's awesome. I don't care what you say.
All right, so I got another one for, I think this is from last week's podcast. From Dark Mika's on Fire. Let's call it that. You made Gaz feel so uncomfortable with the reading of The Lusty Argonian Maid, LOL.
True.
Also, it's not a song, it's a play, a book. So that was part of the Shag, Marry, Kill for last week. Cloney, you've let the side down by not giving us one for this week. Do better. Well, yeah, so she's an Argonian maid from the Elder Scrolls, so she's like a lizard person. Mm-hmm. She, evidently a character in a play, not a song, forgive me. But I thought this would be a brilliant time to read another one of her segments in the play. So there are two characters in here called Lifts Her Tail, who is the lusty Argonian maid, and Crantius Colto. So, Act 7, Scene 2, continued. This is from a Wikia. My goodness, that's quite a loaf. But however shall I fit it in my oven? This loaf isn't ready for baking, my sweet. It has yet to rise. If only we could hurry that along. How would I accomplish such a task? Oh, my foolish little Argonian maid. You must use your hands. You wish me to knead the loaf? Here? Of course. But what if my mistress catches me? Your loaf was meant to satisfy her appetite. Don't fret, my delicate flower. I'll satisfy the mistress's cravings later. Very well. I love how she's okay.
All right, very
well. I'll give you a handy, don't worry. Very well. But I'm afraid my oven isn't hot enough. It could take hours.
Oh, no.
Plenty of time, my sweet. Plenty of time. End of Act 7, Scene 2.
Wow. I thought I wasn't going to enjoy that, but that was actually quite funny. Fair play.
Lusty Argonian maid.
Wow.
In all good bookstores.
Who'd you thought? I might change my answer from last week now after that. That was choice. That was awesome.
She's great. Have you got any
nothing more to say? Right. Twin Mama actually made my favourite comment this week. And she says, Dear Gaz, I have almost the same mindset regarding multiple purchases. I bought 3 Witcher games on Steam sale and the expansions on the regular. But after listening to your and other news about all the corporate BS, especially with monetization, and learning about Steam's revenue split, I felt dirty. So I bought the 3 games and 2 expansions again, this time from GOG. And I bought them a 3rd time as a gift to my son, who could easily have used my DRM-free GOG version. And we both had a whole lot of fun with the game. I completed 5 run-throughs, Hearts of Stone 3 times, BAW Blood and Wine 2 times, with more than 800 hours. I won't buy it for Switch as I don't own a Switch. Already pre-ordered Cyberpunk 2077 and my first and only pre-order ever, as did my son. I have faith in CDPR not to renounce their stance and be true to their promises. No microtransactions, but free DLC and paid expansions as with The Witcher 3. So there is no point in discussing whether I'd be disappointed with microtransactions in Cyberpunk 2077 or not. There won't be any in the game, period. See you, Twin Mama. I like that comment. Not only because it validates my opinion, but yeah, it's clarifying and solidifying the point that we'll support the companies if they treat us like human beings, not as sheep to be or cows to be milked, essentially. And we will support Cyberpunk CD Projekt so long as they treat us right. Yeah. And regardless of buying the game 3 times because you support that, you don't have to buy microtransactions or additional content. They don't have to be shady and isolate parts of the game and chisel off bits of the game and sell them back to you when you've already bought the fucking game. Give us value for money. We'll support you. And that's the message, right?
I mean, there is a risk that they will go in, say, 15 years' time, just like the other good developers like Blizzard and Bethesda and everything. There is a risk. But if we keep telling them that they're good now...
If we reward them for being good, then it shines a light, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's intrinsic into their corporate structure.
And they might turn evil. I mean, the allure of all that extra monetization must be there, as that dude said in the interview, right? It must be a difficult decision for the business guy. But I get that, and they might change their minds, and they might put microtransactions in. But until that point, we'll be supporting them, and we'll be saying nice things about them while they're being nice. There's no point criticizing them for what might happen or what they might do. Let's just enjoy it for what it is right now.
Well, if you've got no more, I think I've got a nice...
I've got one last one, but it's a small one.
Okay, well, I'll quickly do this one from CD Projekt's video from... When did we do it? Wednesday. Farang Lao. The Blizzard Entertainment movie is coming out Christmas this year. Lie hard with a vengeance. It's Die Hard, so it's a easy win for me. And
awesome.
I love that these videos always just fold into each other because it's, Blizzard doing shit, CDPR doing good, Blizzard still comes in anyway as part of the talking point, just by comparison.
And on that same video, Azumaji, what? If you can't enjoy The Witcher 3, then what games are you enjoying? 3 question marks. Do you even play video games?
Because you're not a real gamer.
I'm not a real gamer. Yeah.
Fake fan.
I pretended to be a PC Master Race member. I faked my ID card and everything. So there you go. I'm not a valid gamer because I don't enjoy The Witcher 3. Maybe it's true.
Right, hold on. I've just got one here on the same video. Lawrence Bilton. Stop pronouncing Krakow incorrectly. It's pronounced Krakow.
I was going to correct you in the video. Krakow, right?
But the interview which I sampled with Layman Gaming, that guy,
Krakow.
Mame, he says Krakow. Exactly.
He's
he says Krakow.
But he's not local.
I know, but he said it. So have a go at him.
No, it's not just me that's wrong. You're saying the guy's wrong. It's Krakow. All the W's in Polish is fine, right?
And it's got an accent on the A. So I don't know what sound. It's probably Krakow or something.
Krakow.
Although in English you can spell it with a K, two K, like K in front and K in the middle, and with C's. So the English version of it is just bollocks.
Yeah. Well. I mean, we got a comment out of him. I was gonna say it. I was gonna correct you in the video, but I'm far too polite for that.
Unless it's usually a PC thing.
Usually no, but at least we got a comment out of him.
I got a follow-up comment from some guy called Ian Moon. It was almost sounding like they were saying crack house to me. Had to pause that the first time, back it up to make sure I heard it right.
Crack house.
So John Mamay, studio head of Crack House. Love it. I mean, maybe I don't know his life.
Like I was watching, a review of the Witcher 3 Switcher by Games. Jake Baldino. Where's he from?
Game Ranks,
and he calls Andrei Sapkowski Andrei Sapkowski because it's the V. He uses the W but he's got like a New York accent, so it's like Sapkowski. He's
so New York. It's brilliant. Like I listen to his podcast quite a lot because video games, which is with another one of the Game Ranks guys, and they're all just always talking about Long Island and New York, like Manhattan and the Bronx and shit, and like they're proper Italian New Yorkers. It's great. I think I'm expunged, empty. Yeah.
My list of comments is gone now for this week, and thanks everybody for watching and listening to the podcast, whether it's on YouTube or whether it's on any of the streaming services. For those of you who don't know, the podcast is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all the other streaming services, the Castbox or whatever. If you want to just listen to the audio version as you're commuting or whatever, you can do that. So that is it for this week. Again, if you want to support the channel, head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. Leave a comment or a question or anything if you want to ask us something down in the comments below. We appreciate the engagement. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done already, because that really helps us out. And we will see you again in the next video. Until such time, bye for now.